God, what the hell is that?
I'm the sheriff. I'm the sheriff.
You're the police, where are your badges?
I don't have to show you any stinking badges.
That's because I'm a star. I'm a genuine sports personality. A legendary folk hero.
Jesus Christ.
Mary, it's very bad as Captain Joe. Even the guards are terrified of him.
You can call me when I have to call my lawyer. They bring me a telephone. Would you like to leave me your home phone number?
I don't want to hear any of this. I don't want to hear no more of this.
Wait a minute, I'm just getting to the weird part.
The weird part.
Yeah, it gets weird.
Say we take off, look the sight from orbit. It's the only way to be sure. Let's do it.
Can you do that?
I can do anything. I'm the chief of police.
I have got so much crap on my desk that does not belong. It has no function for this show whatsoever. I got to clean up in here one of these days. It's Monday morning, everybody. Hail Monday. All right, knock that shit off. Welcome aboard. Interesting weekend. I had a good time. We did the movie show Saturday night. Man, that was fun. That was a good time. We got to horse around with some Friedkin films, which they're all bangers. It did me no good to throw The Exorcist in there, but you can't really do it. You can't do Friedkin justice if you don't throw that in there. It's like, doing a Spielberg retrospective and leaving out Jaws or, Close Encounters of the Third Kind or E.T. That's got to be on that list. So we muddled through it. We did okay. We did a pretty good job. How's everybody doing this morning? Marianne, first one in the door. Spider, not first in the door. Darth Yeager, as always. Cole Hauser, good morning. Good to see you. Donna Hall, I got your text. I'll get back to you directly. I got about 1 million daggone things this morning. Yeesh. Woke up, everything's going good. I'm like, okay, sweet. We'll just get a cup of coffee, dog the dogs. Everything will be just fine. And then the phones just started ringing off the hook. I'm like, what in the hell? I got stuff going on at the Central Florida compound. I got shit to deal with long distance today. Oh my God. That's the worst too, because you trying to do stuff on FaceTime. You got people taking care of the property. Let me show you this. Let me show you that. Let's do this and that. And you're like, oh my God, stop it. I got other things to do. Hey, Deb Bozarts. Welcome aboard. Rewatch Killer Joe yesterday. Yeah, that's one of those ones you start out, you see it the first time, and you're like, what the hell just happened here? And then you let it sit for a little bit, and you go, I think I'm going to go rewatch that one again. And then you get hooked. You're like, I got to see that part where he's running from the bikes. And, oh, you did Simcast. No head. Well, that's okay. Cole Hauser's sent in. He was on Simcast last night with Chrissy Marin. Sorry, there was no heads up. That's okay, man. Sometimes you got to keep an industry secret. That's fine. We get it. That's all right. You're working with the bigs now. We understand. He ain't got time for us little sheriffs anymore. Oh, man. Good for you. How was that working with Chrissy? She seems a good sort. I like when she does Grace Randolph impressions. She's funny. I feel like she gets kind of shut out sometimes when she's on FNT because that's a rough panel. And she's, there's a lot of improv and it's fast moving and she needs some setup to some of her stuff. So I think feel like she gets kind of shut out sometimes. I know you will. That's why people love you, Cole. You always got time for everybody, man. That's a rough gig. I don't have time for anybody. I don't even have time for the dogs. I'm terrible at time management. I am absolutely, excuse me one second. I am absolutely terrible at time management. If You know, when you go into an interview and they go, "What's your greatest strengths?" And you're like, "I could hit you in the eye with a 308 round from 500 yards." People go, "Yeah, that's not really what we're looking for here at IBM, but thanks for stopping by." And then they get to that, you know, "What's your greatest weakness?" You know, I have learned they do not want the me answer, which is I'm too damn good looking. They want the real answer, which is I can't manage my time for shit. I have the grasp of time of a goldfish. So that's kind of, hey, Mego, morning. I did not, unfortunately for me, I'm not used to that. I have not learned any ways to, you know, deal with it because I used to be really good with it. I have, I don't want to say it's an issue. I got an old age thing going on. It's a combination of a lot of things, but it's one of those deals where I don't remember. I'm not quite to that. I don't remember stuff like I should. I'm not quite to that level of Leonard in Memento, but I'm getting there. You know, my problem is, and this is, I wouldn't really say problem. This is kind of the blessing part of this. I'm lucky in one respect. I actually know it's going on. It's not like dementia where you go, I don't know that I'm forgetting things. I'm fully aware of what I'm forgetting. So that at least I can, you know, kind of semi-manage it and go, okay, I need to make a note about this because I'm gonna dick it up, and this is pretty important. So I got that going for me. We hit, you know, before we finished up the stream Saturday, we hit the Keno Casino thing and the Jeremy Hambly thing. I ain't gonna go too far down the road just to say that I kind of followed it a little bit this weekend. It's still going on. For any of you who are into internet drama, and this one kind of goes into everybody in the internet sphere, just a hair, because we're talking about channel takedowns. So it kind of affects everybody that's in the sphere. I don't do the drama per se. I followed it a little bit. It's nasty. I don't care to participate in stuff like that. But they're still down, unfortunately, this morning. Keno Casino still off the air on YouTube anyway. I don't do Kick. I know how to. I just choose not to. And they're up over there, so we're fine. As the last I looked, they were still up over there. For those of you who are unaware of what's going on, you have Jeremy Hambly, who's the quartering, and he's got some questionable takes on a lot of things. He's very hypocritical, according to many people. And I go, yeah, okay. He ran afoul of a group called Keno Casino, two fellas, Triple P, Andy Worski, and they kind of aired out, you know, a lot of his personal dirty laundry, and he got sideways with it, and it turned into this big thing, and now they're back and forth with each other. Well, Hambly said he was going to get their channel taken down, and sure enough, it disappeared this weekend. People started freaking out. That's kind of a no-no in this realm for anybody that's on YouTube that doesn't follow, you know, kind of the ins and outs of it. Taking somebody's channel down, that's kind of like in hockey. You know, you can lay a hit on a guy, you can even fight with him, but you don't throw dirty hits because you can really hurt somebody doing that shit, and you're taking food off a man's table at that point, and that's some absolute no kind of shit right there. You get the whole league. You go throwing a dirty hit on people and make a habit out of it, you're gonna get the whole league after you. You know, you don't put a man out of commission. You're dealing with, that's serious business right there. So I'm not going to go too far down that road. I just want to let anybody know that was following it. I checked this morning. Keno's still down. I haven't heard any new stuff. Stayed out. Thought it was on the agenda. It wasn't. Yeah, I'm not really. The one thing that I am going to do, I will say this, because it's a pretty good lesson for life in general. I've watched that. I've watched a lot of stuff on the internet, and I'm here to tell you it's ugly. There's some ugly things out there. I delve in some areas of the internet that most people probably, especially on this show, probably wouldn't care to look into. You know, you get behind Nicholas DiOrio and hear some names drop. Tom Dark, Gamer from Mars, that kind of thing. Turkey Tom, not Tom Dark. Turkey Tom, Gamer from Mars, that kind of thing. You start following those rabbit holes, man, you're going to see some ugly stuff out there. And I look at I looked at part of that formed how I want to do my channel. I'm like, I want to stay about as far away from this trash as I can because it's really unnecessary. There's a lot of young people. Excuse me. Ooh, beg your pardon. That was a bad one. There's a lot of young people on YouTube that look to get famous by doing really weird stuff. And I don't care to go down that road with them. And then there's some people who've been around for a while that look at what the kids are doing. And then they go, well, that works for them. I think I'll jump on that train and I'll do it too. Not necessary. So here's kind of where I wanted to take that whole Keno Casino thing. That got into some personal business and it got nasty. There was a lot of name calling. I think in general, you have to be, I am a free speech enthusiast. I'm not a free speech absolutist. YouTube has terms. Every venue has terms. They're there for a reason. And I think you need to follow those. But civility is part of our culture. And you know, with great power comes great responsibility. Same thing with great freedom. With great freedom comes great responsibility. Freedom only works if people are responsible. So I hear a lot of, you spend as much time on the tube and other platforms as I do doing research. There's this kind of, hey, this is the internet. This is the jungle. Can't take the heat. Get out of the kitchen. That kind of thing. Okay, to a point. I think there are a lot of places that they don't cross that line, man. They just stomp all over it. The entire internet is not a Call of Duty waiting room. I've been in them too. I was there before the kids were. I remember them. You know, some folks on the internet need to calm down just a hair. You can disagree with somebody without, you know, getting nasty. And frankly, when you invite people to a fight, sometimes you get yourself in over your head. Hey, Zach, how you doing? And I think that may be what happened here. Now, do I care for the response? Like I said, you're messing with a man's rice bowl right there. You got to be pretty darn careful. Do I think Hambly's response was warranted? I ain't going to go down that road. I'll keep an eye on it. But that was my message. If you're on the internet, you're all adults, you're grown, you do your thing. But one of the things that I see a lot on the internet that I wish I could change, if I could wave a magic wand, I would make everybody stop and think about what they're doing for about 5 minutes. You know, if you're in beef with somebody, and I get internet drama, that there's a whole sphere of that, and that's what they do. And, you know, that's their thing. But at the same time, man, chill out just a little bit. Just a hair. You start bringing people's families into the mix and it's like, oh, hang on now. You know, I step out on the internet. I laced them up and stepped on the ice. That's on me. But my family did not sign on for that ride. So be careful. Anyway, enough of that bullshit. I tell you what I did make the mistake of this weekend. I made the mistake of clicking on, you know how YouTube feeds you them shorts. I made the mistake of clicking on a Ren and Stimpy short. And I did that yesterday about 2 in the afternoon. About 10 and a half hours later of Ren and Stimpy, I was like, man, I really missed this cartoon. That was a good time. That was funny. They had some of them that were kind of missed, but man, on balance, I thought Ren and Stimpy was just hysterical. Liked me some South Park at the beginning, but they went kind of off the rails. Ren and Stimpy they did it just enough and said, all right, that's it, we're done. They had that good Monty Python's Flying Circus level where they go, okay, it's getting bad, I'm out. And they called it. I'd like to see them bring that back just for one season, see what they got. I was never, Zach says Animaniacs was good too. I was never an Animaniacs fan only because it was in a weird time for me. I didn't have a lot of TV time at the point. So, you know, it happens. But I've seen a couple of them. I don't dislike them by any stretch. I think they're cute. They're fun. Mrs. McCoy was a big Animaniacs fan. So you guys there you go. You got something in common right there. What else we got before we get to the stupid stuff? Did the Keno Casino thing. I don't want to keep. I will say this about Keno Casino. That goddamn Triple P, man, that kid, everybody goes, oh, he's so funny. He's so great. I'm all about high energy when you need to be, but my goodness, I can take that Triple P in about 30-second doses at best. And then I'm like, tone it down, kid. You pull that triangle out and give me one more whoa buddy in a 3-minute span, and I'm done with you. I get it. People dig it. They want to see somebody putting in the effort. Sure, I got you. But man, after a while, you're like, oh, change it up there, kid. If you're on all the time, there is no off, then pretty soon that gets just as bad as not being up at all, you know. There was one, I was watching the show this morning. God bless Jay for sticking through it. I felt bad. He's like, oh, look at the opportunities. I'm like, hey, man, I'm just throwing it out there. You go sideways, I'm here. Because I was up early. Dogs were ready to go first thing. I started a real thing with Texas Ranger Dog, because when I got up this morning, he was literally at the door of the house looking at me to go out to the studio. I was like, come on, Dad, time to go to work. Let's go. All right, hold on there, little buddy. We got to eat first. Got to get something in you, then get something out of you, and then we go to work. He's all, and he does nothing. He does nothing but lay here. So I don't know what the excitement's about. He's crashed out right now. That's right. Hey, do me a favor, buddy. Don't do anything. All right, good boy. Good job. I did. So I was watching the show this morning. I saw something that I kind of wanted to touch on. We always talk about, touch on religion just a little bit. I did want to make this point. Faith. I'm not going to talk about the memes and all that bullshit. If you're blaming, I'll say this real quick about the meme. If you're blaming Donald Trump for, like a unsavory tweet, I'm not even going to call it a bad tweet, because there's no such thing. If you're going to get on him about a goofy tweet, that's like blaming a shark for eating a seal. You need to find that. That's like, making fun of his comb over. Come on, man. That's part of the package. You knew what you were signing on for. Get her over with. The thing about the religion part, though, I was watching that and everybody's getting twisted up. One thing I did want to say, if being a Christian was easy, faith wouldn't be worth a bucket of shit. Faith is important. This is just my take. Part of the free will thing is because faith makes it work. I don't claim to be a deity. I've often thought about this. If I were, would it mean anything if you showed yourself to your creation every day and they believe? Well, of course they believe in you. You do miracles every day. When you make it a total mystery and they still believe in you, that counts for something. You know what I mean? So I just want to share that. I have these theological thoughts creep in every now and again about how does it all work? That's one of my big ones. Faith that people go, how does God let this happen? How does God do? Why does this? And how come he doesn't blah, blah, blah? Let's face it. If God came down today and picked up a continent and then just put it back in place just for a goof, just to show you he's here, what religion would be meaningless at that point? Because if you deny that, you're just stupid. That's not religious. That's not a test of faith. That's a test of your, realization of reality. It's a test of whether or not you're batshit crazy. So that was my little thought I'd share with everybody. Part of your religion is faith, man. That's what makes it work. And if he showed it to you every day, you wouldn't need faith. So there it is. I'm going to take a look at the news real quick. We had the Eric Swalwell thing. I ain't going to beat that because that's all over everything. Everybody knows by now what's going on. He got accused of sexual harassment and assault, all kinds of stuff. And he dumped his campaign, which I don't do guilt or innocent. We know this. There's no adjudication in a court of law. My opinion on it, you don't just drop everything and cut and run unless there's something there you don't want getting out. I don't know if what he's been accused of is true or not. I don't care. I don't like the man for his political takes on anything. His personal life is none of my business. But you don't just hang it all up. When something like that drops, 26 hours later, you hang the whole thing up. Unless there's a little something there you don't want to get out. And make no mistake, that was not some, Republican plant that did that. His own people got him right there. There was too much information, too quick, too well coordinated, too fast. That was his own people. You were looking at Democrats realizing what a mistake a jungle primary was. Look for at least one more person in that race to drop, because the Republicans were doing just way too good. And they took a look at that and said, oh, that jungle primary thing ain't such a good idea. Who do we want to dump? Who's the easiest target? Swalwell, easiest one on the list. Straight white guy, get him out of there. Yeah, we'll jump back to the Trump. It was a meme, move on. Yeah, I get, man, that's kind of where I was at with it. I looked at it and go, very first thing I do is how do I feel about it? And that was in and out kind of, figures. And then I go to, we have more important things to worry about than that. That guy's got about 6 different things going on that need attention. I don't think this is one of them. Let's concentrate on it. Let's work on Iran first. That seems to be, to me, the most pressing situation we got going on. Border, Iran, economy. Let's hit the big 3. Let's leave the memes to the kids. Let them argue about it. Herrick was banging a Chinese spy. Yeah, that ain't no lie. Apparently, I shouldn't even do this. That's part of that civility thing. But he's a public figure. He jumped in the ring. Fuck him. Apparently, he was banging everybody. Seemed to be the problem, whether they were awake or not. So, God, hell with him. He said so much stupid shit over his time out. He's an easy mark. I look at him and go, yeah, that guy didn't have a chance to begin with. There are times when I think your personal life should be completely out of it. There are times when I think it's sort of important to know who you're dealing with in political office. Here's one of them. Now, this isn't, I'm not in Ohio. I don't care about Ohio. Governors are important people, however. They're high up in the chain. Your next step, if you're a governor, is president. Yeah, that's kind of how that works. Police responded to report a domestic dispute at Ohio governor candidate's home in 2019. Now, a couple of things. First of all, it's on mainstream media news stories and NBC News. So right off the bat, you're getting about half of what actually happened. And there's 2 sides to every story. You got this gal, Amy Acton, Democrat, running for governor. At the time of this, she's the state's health director. Her and her husband get into it. Cops show up. Essentially, they say there's a domestic dispute. Somebody dragged a mirror off the wall and there was glass shattered all over the floor. She told officers she'd been drinking and taking an unknown amount of prescription drugs and was about to drive away in her car before her husband talked her out of it. Okay. First of all, you're the health director for supposedly the entire state of Ohio. I don't think, seeing how many Cerveza Cristals and handfuls of Oxy you can throw down on top of one another, pretty sure that's not a good idea. So, what's your health policy like? You don't get along with your husband. Hey, that's fine. I've been in a million of these. That's one of the reasons I don't do that anymore. These things get ugly. There's no winner, no loser. It's ridiculous, And then, of course, her campaign says, no, that's not how it happened at all. She had a drink with dinner, and then she bumped into a mirror, and it fell off the wall, and cops got called and all that. Look, cops don't show. Let me give you a little insight. If I come to your door, that fight was loud. Generally speaking, if one of the 2 of you didn't call, it was a fight, because neighbors don't just call because they heard something crash in your house. They hear it crash repeatedly, and some people were yelling, and somebody got concerned enough to pick up a phone. Generally speaking, people don't get too involved. So if somebody got on the phone, it was getting ugly. Now, here's what I say. Sometimes, your personal life matters. Sometimes it doesn't. If it was one of those Coldplay CEO, they're still married and somebody's stepping out on the other one, that's not really any of my business. I don't much care. The concerning parts of this one are your judgment overall when you're supposed to be the health director and you're slamming down pills on top of, if you're washing down any prescription meds with whiskey, your judgment is in question as far as I'm concerned. I don't need you making policy, okay? Second of all, I do prefer if you tell the story straight when it comes out. Just say, yeah, we got into a fight. Now, granted, you're talking 7 years ago. It's 2019. Things may have changed. They may not be married anymore. Whatever. This is not exclusive to one side or the other. I get she's a Democrat candidate, whatever. But if you think everybody in politics doesn't have problems, you're kidding yourself. Everybody in politics is, not only do they have the same problems that the rest of us have, but some of them get pretty weird, as we can see from Kristi Noem's husband. That one kind of got weird in a hurry. I don't know why. It may be the personality type that they get into the biz, and I brought that up, and I kind of wanted to dovetail that into everybody was getting worked up about the memes. Take that kind of shit out of the whole game. All right, let's worry about their policy stance. Let's worry about the work that they do. Let's take a look at that. Go find me a story in the news. Let's do this. We'll play a game. I will give you $1,000 for every story that you can find me in the MSM about a candidate's voting record. You give me $100 for every story I can find in the same area about somebody's weird personal problems, some candidate's weird personal issues. Anybody want to play that game? I didn't think so. That's the part that bugs me. Give me some stuff about it. People go, well, there's places you can go. Yeah, there's places I can go and find those stories. I'm smart. I follow that stuff. I know where to find it. Normal people should be seeing this on a regular basis. That's why politics is so jacked up. I think the last time I remember anybody in the media, in the mainstream media, talking about somebody's voting record and a piece of legislation that they actually sponsored and wrote and what the substance of that was may have been Walter Cronkite. I'm not entirely sure. I might have missed one in the last 50 years there somewhere, but I think, pretty sure Walter was the last person I heard talk about that kind of stuff. Oh, is that the deal? The Daily yeah, she was by the governor's side. See, I look at people on TV, especially politicians, and that's the first thing that goes through my head is, I don't know why this is weird. This is a bad thing too, but it's a weird thing that I have. I look at them and I go, what kind of weird shit do they do when they're not on TV? What kind of skeletons this one got in their closet? I look at people and how they dress and how they act on TV, the politicians, like Gretchen Whitmer. I shouldn't even tell this, but this is a weird kind of thing that goes through my head. There's too many years working with people. I look at her and go, I wonder what her kink is. What's her thing? That's bad. I got so many more important things to worry about with her. But she does it up front. She tells you what a freak she is with all her weird draconian, the lockdown trash she pulled. Like, well, you can't go to a bar, but you can go to Home Depot, but don't buy seeds. I'm like, where do you make that jump, lady? Get out. So that's what I do. I look at politicians now and I go, wonder what their kink is. Are they a furry? Are they, they like getting hit, getting popped in the jaw when I'm just like, that's weird stuff. I shouldn't do that. Let's get off. Anyway, so here's where I was going. I got way off track with that. So the short version of that, too late, is let's get over the whole bad memes thing. Worry about how the Iran thing is going. Worry about the border. Would I rather trust your local crime boss or your local politician. Thank you, Spider. I get to make a great point once again. You know why the FBI hit the mob so hard and ran them out of business? Government couldn't take the competition. There are people that are still alive. That's funny that you say this because you're from kind of their stomping ground. There are people alive who tell you cities were much safer when the mafia was around. Businesses were safer when the mafia was around. Did you have to pay? Sure. But they'd rather pay the mafia than taxes. Because their mafia payments actually bought them something. You know, you could make one phone call and say, hey, I had a kid come in and, you know, kind of put the screws to me and took some stuff. And if you were paying protection, that kid didn't show up anymore. Oh, yeah, I'll bet. That's another one of my areas. I follow it. I know, man. I've seen it. I see. Yeah, you know who yeah. Yep. At least that money bought you something. Not like now where it didn't buy you anything. It buys Somali refugees a whole lot of, you know, nice cars and money back home kind of shit. Man, you know things had gotten sideways when the mob ran it better than the government. I mean, come on, man. Come on. Let's do I was gonna do something about the Cuban communist dictator Miguel Diaz-Canel said. I'm not even going to put it up on the screen. Essentially, he said, yeah, Cubans will die to keep the communist regime. Yeah, there's something you really want to hang on to. You got no power. You got no food. You got no gas. But you'll fight to the death to preserve your nothing. It's so full of shit. Get out of here. Normal Cubans first of all, they're getting to the point where they've figured it out. They got their own economy. The government just totally worthless. Second of all, if they got hungry enough, they'd throw you over in a heartbeat, man. Get out of here with that nonsense. I will do this story just for a quick, if you had any idea at how widespread crime can be as relates to illegal immigration. There is a county, this one blew my mind. There's a county that's a bit north and just a hair east of San Antonio where these 5 illegally in the country gentlemen were arrested for cattle rustling. Now, cattle rustling used to be that kind of offense that you ended up at the end of a rope on that one. Because it wasn't just stealing. You were taking food out of people's mouths. You steal enough cattle, a whole town may just shrivel up and go away because they didn't have food anymore for the next month. Fortunately, we don't have that problem today, but cattle rustling's still big money. The cow's expensive, man. I don't know if anybody's ever gone and tried to buy like a quarter cow or a half a cow. Shit ain't cheap. I mean, you steal a cow, that's several thousands of dollars worth of material on 4 legs right there. It's not quite a new truck's worth, but, you know, getting up there. So if you ever thought leaving the border open was no big deal, well, it's, you know, that, man, right down to stealing the food out of your mouth. And that's not an exaggeration. 70 cattle? Anybody that thinks 70 cattle ain't a lot, and some guys, it's probably not. Some guys probably like, you know, whatever. 70 cattle's a lot. That's a lot of cows right there. That's a lot of money. And that's food. That's literally food out of your mouth. That's why beef can cost the way it does. And it goes on without these fellas. Let's be realistic. These aren't the only 5 guys in the country that may be rustling cattle. Okay. I'm not saying that. I am saying, why are we adding to the numbers? We got our own problems. That's with any crime, but we got our own problems. Why are we throwing gas on that fire? So, Spider joke. What's the difference between government and organized crime? One's organized, Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Yeah, if you're in the 18, that's no lie, Jim. That's what I'm talking about. If you're in the 1800s and they caught you doing this, this ends one way for these fellas. All of them at the same time, one Sunday afternoon after church, just like the logo on my channel. We're way past that. There's a gallows at one end of every town, and it usually didn't have just one noose. They had several, because you run into this kind of deal right here. Back in the 1800s, that's no joke, man. You're literally you're risking a whole town right there. Towns weren't that big, and their food supply, you snatch 70 cattle, they're done. A done deal right there. You're not going to replace that meat. You don't have enough time to slaughter as many hogs and chickens to take up after that. Hey, Antoinette, what's going on? So, here's my problem. People are worried about bad means. Where's that wall, man? I know you got a lot of issues trying to put that up, but let's make that happen. I don't care where you're from. I don't care. You come aboard here. Number one, speak the language, pay your taxes. There's two things that make a country: common language, common currency. Okay. Head back out where you came from. Go through the door. Here's your social security number. English classes are Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 o'clock. Good luck. You show up, assimilate just that much. I don't care what you do for all the rest of it. You're subject to the laws the same as everybody else. And what you do with your free time, I don't care. That's up to you. And we all know how I feel about the Hispanic population, especially where I'm at. There's some good, God-fearing, hard-working folks right there. You got your ding-dongs like everybody else. They seem to have quite a few of them just because they're used to the cartels running roughshod over their country. So, I don't blame them. You either starve or work for the cartels. I get it. However, when you come in here, that's a different story. There's a difference between you being, naked and howling at the moon and you doing it in my living room. That's two different situations right there. One I can tolerate, the other one, we got a problem. So there we go. I would rather we were focusing on the wall than silly memes. I think let's do oil prices real quick, and then we'll get on to my favorite part of the day. Let's check her real fast. See what we got. We are at West Texas. Is it 103.6? Refresh that real quick. Oh, it's dropping. Something good must have happened. We're down to 101.8. It was up substantially this morning. Now it's back down to 101.8. Something must be going right. I'm still a little concerned about the split, although it's getting closer, the split between Brent crude and WTI. I think people are a little concerned about our ability to ship, or there's price gouging going on from West Texas. Let me share this with you. Here's my guess on, hold on one second, excuse me. Here's my guess on the expense of WTI. There are apps you can go to that will show you traffic, air traffic, shipping traffic. Me and Mrs. McCoy looked at a shipping traffic in the Gulf app last night. You would not believe the amount of ships that are moving around in the Gulf right now. Our Gulf, not, their Gulf. You would not believe the amount of ships that are moving around in our Gulf right now. And that's LNG and crude and all kind of stuff. The traffic is crazy. So I think there may be a little price gouging going on right now, which I hate to use that term because it implies something illegal. It's not. It's the market doing what it's doing. So, they're responding in kind, but it's going to be up for just a little bit because they can make a bunch of money off of it. So they will. If we're oil independent, here's a great question. Thank you, Jim. I get to do economics 101. Perfect question. I'm going to use a different analogy for this just because this is easier for people, I think, to wrap their heads around. Because oil is fungible, okay, for the most part. Now you have markets that contribute to it, so that batch pays better at a certain rate when they all get to where they mix up. Okay, when they get to the trade market where they're all kind of mixed up. Here's the analogy that somebody used a long time back that best set in with me. Here's what I'm going to do. Why is it that crab legs are more expensive in Alaska than they are in Miami? You see that show, Deadliest Catch, and they go, you know, they just off the coast of Alaska. Well, not just off the coast, but they're out in the ocean. They can bring them back and they ship them. That stuff gets shipped everywhere. Why is it, if not more expensive, just as expensive? Why do they cost the same in Alaska that they do in Miami? Here's why. Because people will pay it. You can take those crab legs and ship them to Miami. All of your costs, your shipping, your fuel, paying the drivers, all of that stuff, your market cost, will be offset by the price that you can charge there. Here's why, if we're energy independent, we're not energy independent per se, if we're oil independent. First of all, oil, like I said, is fungible. So you're kind of apples and oranges here with that particular analogy, but that's the best way I could put it to you. You can get as good a money in that market, even though it's far away, as you can right here. You're paying higher prices here for oil that you can get here because they can make just as much money off of you here as if they had to ship it over there. With all their costs included, in order for them to get that oil into a fungible pot, because so many other countries are so poor of it that they're willing to pay the same price as we are. That's why. I don't want to do capitalism 101, but your entire market is based on what's called a market clearing price. That's how you set them. That is what that's what the market will clear your goods and services at. Okay. And right now for crude, it happens to be 101.9 a barrel. If they average their whole market out, everything being equal, that's the cost of it. Now, for people who live in states like I do, like people in the Midwest, Oklahoma, what have you, where you actually can not only draw your own oil, but you're lucky enough to have a state EPA or a Fed, feds are far enough away you can actually refine it there. That's a bite in the ass because you're looking right at a product that the people that own it, who are producing it, could sell to you for literally pennies on the dollar what you're paying right now. That's frustrating, but it's their oil. They get to set the price. There you go. Isn't what we sell different from what stays local? Because of the restrictions that the U.S. has on refining, not when it comes to crude. It has to go from point A to point B to turn into something else. The cost of refining here is so restrictive, it's easier to sell the crude at a different rate, have somebody else refine it. What brings it back down? People, man, you guys, this is good stuff. You guys are sticking it to me this morning. Awesome. I love it. There is a price parity where people will stop paying as much over there as they will here. People here won't pay that elevated rate. You have to bring your market clearing price down. You have to take, there's some guys that sit in a room and they factor in about 18 million different things, and they find out your market clearing price and they go, we're losing contracts on this, this, and this. This is the first guy to think about that trading floor and trading spaces. The first guy that yells, sell at 102, boom, it just hits the floor. What brings it down, and this is why I love talking about economics, what brings it down is literally somebody's willing to take less for their product. Right now, everybody's freaking out. And that's what sets that price so high. They're like, look, it's going to be hard to get. We're going to have to pay, they have their projections of what they're going to have to pay. So they hit that and they kind of guess in this area, what's the market clearing price going to be? And let's be clear about something. Things are worth, bottom line, economics 101 never changes. Things are worth exactly what people will pay for them. Okay. One of the biggest factors in your market clearing price is literally the market. If you want to read about how the simplest way to figure out economics and why you should study psychology instead of economics, read Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations. Learn about the invisible hand, learn about, here's a good we're paying $4.45 in Northwest Chicago. Let me explain one thing in particular about the fuel that you pay at the pump. Not only are you talking about crude, you're talking about refining costs. You are talking about taxes. The price that you pay at the pump. Ask yourself, why can I drive down the street here and pay $3.79 a gallon, and in California it's $6.99 a gallon? Taxes. You can thank the state of California for that shit. There is a base level. Sadly, go look and see if you can find what the base cost of refined gasoline at the pump, like 87, 89, whatever it is. See if you can find out what that costs without any taxation on it in your state, and it will sadden you even more. It will sadden you to no end. Yeah, market determines the price. And if you want to learn how the market works, since the market determines the price, start there. Go to Adam Smith. Learn how the invisible hand works. And it's real simple. Economics 101, economics is psychology. It's all it is. If you understand how people act on an individual and on a micro and a macro basis, you can tell everything else in economics is cake, because it's just numbers at that point. And there's some theory to it, but mostly it's just how people behave. It's just how people behave. Your market clearing price at the end of the day is what somebody will pay. There's a lot of factors that go into if you're a producer of a good or a service. The hard part is up to you, because you got to study all that and figure out where that is. The market itself doesn't have to do anything. That's a personal choice on a huge level. That's a bunch of people looking at something and going, yeah, I ain't paying that. Now, fuel is a little bit trickier deal, because it's people, our world's kind of set up that's sort of a necessity. Are there ways around that? Yeah, but right now they're not cost effective enough to do that. Right now it is cost and efficiency effective enough that people just pay it and go, all right. If gas was $10 a gallon, trust me, people would go, hold on a second. That ain't working out. When you get Weimar Republic kind of pricing, that's when people stop and flip out and go, that's when governments collapse right there. So, we ain't there yet. I sincerely doubt we're going to be there from this. I'd never say never. I ain't blackpilling, but I'm kind of a realist, so never say never. But there's a little fun economics 101. How come there's a lot of factors that go into what you pay at the pump. Straight out, what are crude prices? That's kind of where that's at. That's a bunch of guys who make their living off of trading futures that set that price. That's their market clearing price. So you ever want to figure this stuff out? Valiant Renegade's good on numbers for like Disney and entertainment and such. I find it interesting from an entertainment standpoint, because that market's kind of weird for me to get my hands around. Not like commodities. Commodities is simple. What can that thing be used for? And then that's a little easier to determine how important it is and what kind of pricing you're going to see. Entertainment, man, you have no idea what's going to hit, what's going to miss. So check out some Valiant Renegade and you'll learn some good economics. That guy clearly does. He's an economist for a living. I don't know in what capacity, and it's none of my business, but I watch him and go, okay, this is a guy that eats on his economic decisions. So good on him. Speaking of entertainment, I wanted to hit this one real hard, because this, man, I'm pretty easy to, just walk away from entertainment doing something stupid. But this one right here, we got a problem. Now, gas in Vancouver is the equivalent of $9 a gallon right now. Yeah, yep. So, Darth, and check me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe you guys are on the liter system, which I think is horrible. I had the liter system when I was in Japan. We learned it. Hey, Wayfair, coming in, bang, right off the bat, doing the work. Like and subscribe. Thank you, Wayfair, for the reminder. Like and subscribe. I didn't have time to do the English language spot today, because I ran into this story. I was running my mouth about economical stuff, and now we'll do two of them tomorrow. Oh, excuse me. We'll do two of them tomorrow. I have a serious issue with this particular piece of entertainment. Now, you can do a lot of stuff with, whatever, it's your movie, do your thing. You start messing around with George Orwell, you and me are going to have a problem, because not only does this story not need any help because it's an historically accurate story, you start whitewashing communism and you and me got a problem. And make no mistake, that is exactly what's going on here. So let's talk about this a little bit. For those of you who don't know George Orwell's Animal Farm, it is essentially George Orwell using, literally, he anthropomorphizes. You didn't think I could say big words like that, did you? He anthropomorphizes an entire farm as essentially World War II era Stalinist Russia. Everybody's got a part. The farmers, you've got the U.S., you've got Germany, you've got everybody on the farm is essentially in the Bolshevik structure somewhere. Let me stop real quick. I got to go back to Darth's thing. To his point, the liter system. I'm sorry I didn't finish that up. Anybody know how many liters are in a gallon? It's about 3.3-ish, somewhere in there. So if you pay $3 a liter, people go, people here in the States, they look at that and they go, oh, they're only paying $3 a gallon. No. That's $3 a liter. They're paying $3 for a third of a gallon. Our gas prices in the U.S. to us are high. Around the world, you want to get expensive, go to Japan or Britain and buy gasoline in the same equivalent amount. And taxes are just over half of that. Over half. You're paying more in tax to drive than you are to, to buy the gas itself. It's just, there's a saying, you tax more of what you want less and tax less of what you want more. You know why cigarettes are so expensive? Because the taxes. They put taxes on it to disincentivize things. Taxes are, for the most part, they're theft, straight out. If you could tax your way into prosperity, your tax rate would be 100% and everybody'd be rich. It's an absolutely simple, dumbass comment. And speaking of which, take us right back into communism. Andy Serkis. For those who remember Gollum, The Lord of the Rings, he's got a lot of other roles. He's, character guy that does CGI work mostly. Played Snoke in the Star Wars stuff. I've never really looked into Andy Serkis's politics, but seeing this article, I've learned everything I need to know. Now, this film is going to be released, animated version of Animal Farm. It's going to be released May 1st in the States. This fella from the American Spectator got a pre-version of it. It's been out in a few venues other than, wide release here in the States. So some people have seen it. I have not. I may actually check this one out because I want to see how true this story is. I'm not going to word for word it because reading on the air is tantamount to shooting yourself in the foot. Here's what he did. Took Animal Farm, gender swapped Snowball for some reason. Snowball is essentially Leon Trotsky in the grand scheme of the story. For anybody that knows the story, Snowball's a pig. He's Napoleon's right-hand guy. He's getting too popular, so Napoleon makes some shit up about him, has him run off the farm. Tells a bunch of lies about, his background, has him run off the farm. Leon Trotsky was run out of the Soviet Union, fled to Mexico. They eventually assassinated him in 1940, for anybody that wants to know your history. Not only did he gender swap Snowball, so now the hero can be a chick, but the entire ending is different. And now instead of being an anti-communist story, it's an anti-capitalist story. And guess who the bad guy is in this story? It ain't Stalin. I will leave it in chat. First one in chat that figures out who the bad guy is in this story gets a donut. I'll let you put it up in there. Now, here's my problem. He also added a character that goes along with Napoleon until a pang of conscience makes him change side, and he leads an uprising against him. So we're adding, not only are we changing Orwell, we're adding, detracting, changing the story altogether. You know, they try, and at the end of this whoever's doing the article, I'll give them this. You know, that's a fundamental mistake. As Dostoevsky puts it, the line between good and evil is not between people, but runs through every human heart. You know, he's trying to make this story changes okay. Like, you don't, you know, if you're just telling a good and evil story, you don't need to change it that much. Here's my problem with it. You are messing with an absolute classic that is historically accurate. So now this is straight out revisionist history. I will not have it. Is it still required reading in school? It should be. I don't know that there is such a thing as required reading in school anymore, Deb, to be painfully honest with you. And if there was, I'm sure that it would have to be some, you know, same-sex attracted, gender swapping, ridiculous piece of tripe, because that's what sells. Because kids are easy and they're little tabula rasas, and that's why they're a target. Stalin said it. I don't need you. I got your kids. Don't remember much of the story. It's been 50 years since I read it in high school. It's this. Here's, in a nutshell, it is the story of Stalinist Russia, but told where all of the players in the events are animals on a farm, instead of, you know, Napoleon is Stalin, Snowball is Trotsky, Benjamin the donkey's the press. You've got Boxer is the horse. He's the people, you know, works himself to death. You've got the sheep that are the, you know, the committee members that, you know, 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. It's just history. It's just Orwell's telling of how Russia came to be, and how communist Russia came to be, and how things got twisted so that the animals, they keep changing the rules as they go along, and the rest of the animals are just not very bright, and the pigs are running, you know, they're the central committee, and they keep getting they get all the apples, they get all the milk, people get, or, you know, the rest of the animals get nothing. They run off a couple of troublemakers by making a bunch of bullshit up about them, running them off the farm. They start dealing with the other 2 farms. And at the end, a couple of the animals go up because the pigs start living in the farmer's house. They go up and look through the window, and the pigs are in there partying it up and standing on 2 legs, which is supposed to be the ultimate, you know, the ultimate no-no for quadrupeds. And the animals look to themselves and realize they couldn't tell the difference between the pigs and the humans. You know, can't tell the difference between the communists and the capitalists at the end of that was Orwell's at the end of the day message. You know, you let it go long enough and enough corruption hits, and that's what happened. Now, that's a nutshell. I recommend you read it. It's not a hard read, and it's entertaining, and it's quick. If you get a chance, I used to read this to my daughter as a bedtime story, believe it or not. She knows this one forward and backwards. People go, oh my God, you read Animal Farm to your kid? Yeah, it's got animals in it. Tells a great story, great cautionary tale, and she's learned that and applies it to her everyday life. She referred to one of her teachers as a Napoleon the other day, and she didn't know anything about the actual Napoleon Bonaparte. She's talking about the pig. I was like, yeah, yes, honey, authoritarianism is bad. That word actually appears in this somewhere. It talks about America's drift towards authoritarianism. I'm like, get out of my face with that bullshit. That is absolutely the most not truest thing ever. So that's coming out May 1st. I don't go see many movies. I can tell you right now, if this thing is even close to me and I can get to see it, I'm going to check that out and I'm going to rip this thing apart. I'm going to go rip shit riot over this whole movie. Because not only do I know the story Animal Farm forward and backwards after reading it multiple times to my kid, I happen to know a little something about history, a little something about World War II in particular and the Bolshevik Revolution and how that got started. Andy Serkis is going to be in big trouble with me at the end of this. I can feel that coming. I've never dove into that guy's politics, but I'm going to beat this up. So that'll be fun. All right, it's about time. I got to skedaddle on out of here. I got things to do. Y'all got things to do. The boss is probably wondering why we haven't been doing anything for the last hour, wherever you are, at your work or at home. Thank you so much for coming by. I appreciate it. I hope everybody had a great weekend. I hope everybody has a spectacular day. Do something nice for yourself one time today. Do something that you wouldn't normally do for yourself. Have that extra piece of chocolate. Have an extra cup of coffee. Live life. Live each day as if it were your last. For one day, you are sure to be right. And do yourself a favor. Make one person laugh today. Be good to yourself and be good to other people. Especially people that we don't necessarily feel like being good to, because that's what the good Lord told us to do. Stick around for the outro. I'll see y'all later. I might try some gaming this afternoon. We'll give it a shot. Stick around for the outro. Like, subscribe. Bring a friend if you liked it. Get them going on it. And God bless y'all and have a great rest of your day. Thanks.
I'm just about done here. I never did know your name.
Yes, you do. Take care.
Yes, sir, Captain.
Well, that's great. That's just fucking great, man. Now what the fuck are we supposed to do? We're some real fruity shit now, man.
You finished?
It's the end of the road. You bastards!
Between Glamorgan and Yorkshire, the Yorkshire bowler Nicholson took 8 wickets for 3 runs. Glamorgan were all out for 36 and therefore won the match by an innings and 7 runs. Weather for tomorrow will be cloudy with occasional outbreaks of rain. And that is the end of the news.
Now? Can we go home now?